Well, good evening, everyone. I really wasn't expecting to do another live so soon, quite honestly. Oh my goodness, Bug Dude in the chat. Long time no see. How you doing? Howdy, howdy. Hey, Colette. How are you? Good to see you again. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I am doing streams. I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm not saying I am. We'll just say that I'm here right now. How about that? That's probably the best way to put it. I'm here right now. I did just kind of a little impromptu the other night, and I'm just going to chat for just a moment to give time, see if anybody else wants to hop in here before we talk about this. But so I did a little impromptu live the other night. It was one of those truly spur of the moment. You know what? Let me hop in here. Why the heck not? Let's just see. Let's just see who's around, who wants to jump in. And I was surprised, the number of people that filtered in. It was really good to see folks. Hey, Arklivin. Where's the Barbie? Barbie had to go sit on the shelf. People get weird about them Barbies, man. People get kind of weird about the dolls. They didn't at first, but it was getting strange, so I had to put the Barbies up on the shelf. I miss them though. I do miss, selecting which Barbie and which cool little outfit they'll be wearing. But yeah, it was getting a little strange with some folks, so I had to nip that in the bud. But, yeah, so I did a little live and just to kinda say hi to folks and what's going on, and I really didn't think I'd be back, and I just read this article and went, "What the actual fuck?" And I thought, "Is no one's talking about this. Is no one talking about this yet? Because I don't see anything. I don't see anyone talking about it. I think we need to have a discussion. I think we need to discuss it." Arc living, good to see y'all, doing alright. Yep, I'm doing good. You good? Are we good? We're good at the moment. I don't know how good we're gonna be in a second. So let's see. We got 3 whole people. I'm just gonna go ahead and start, talking about it because I wasn't planning to be here to begin with, so I'm really kinda not planning to stick around very long. We'll see how the conversation goes. So, I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but apparently it's been a little, well, it was a little hidden gem on the news, but it's not hidden now. Now, CNN has actually put it on their front page, but it's not like a splash. It's just like a little blurb off to the side. And they have retitled it. I saw the original article and then they changed it a few minutes later. Not wildly, but they changed the picture on it and changed the headline. Um, but the headline is now Trump involved in discussions over suspending habeas corpus, sources say. That's right, ladies and germs, habeas corpus. I did share the first version of the story that I found um, on my community page, but sorry, oh, close that. I've got it open on my other monitor here. And something popped up about the Pope. We can talk about the Pope another time if we really want to. I don't care about that. But this really got my attention. Suspending habeas corpus. That's something I never thought that I would see in the news, something I never wanted to see in the news. And this is not a joke. This is for real. I'll read the story as it is currently printed today, May 9th, 2025, at 8:37 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters. So the article reads President Trump has been personally involved in discussions inside the administration over potentially suspending habeas corpus, a legal procedure that allows people to challenge their detention in court. Two people familiar with the consideration told CNN. One of Trump's top aides, Stephen Miller, and just as an aside, that's the article I initially saw. It was talking about Stephen Miller's statements. So they've just kind of combined this here. One of Trump's top aides, Stephen Miller, confirmed publicly Friday that the administration was actively looking at suspending habeas corpus, adding that it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. Bug Dude, you saw the article shared in Discord, not really much in it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is a big deal. I think it is. If you don't, well, let me keep reading. Let me keep reading. Yeah, part of me is like, I'm surprised. Why is it not in the news? But also, I'm not surprised. Let's bury that on page 6 and do what we want. And that's probably going to make some people angry who really love Trump. Guys, just stay with me here. Okay. So it goes on to say both the private discussions and Miller's public comments show this is under serious consideration inside the West Wing. While Trump has not explicitly mentioned habeas corpus in public, it's what he was referencing last month when he commented on steps he could take to combat nationwide injunctions against his actions on deportations, according to one of the people familiar with the talks. There are ways to mitigate it, and there's some very strong ways, Trump told reporters on April 30th. There's one way that's been used by three very highly respected presidents, but we hope we don't have to go that route. But there is one way used successfully by three presidents, all highly respected, and hopefully we don't have to go that way, but there are ways of mitigating it. It remains unclear whether this is something the administration will actually pursue, and experts say it will likely generate legal challenges. No shit. The White House declined, it doesn't say oh shit, I say oh no shit. The White House declined to comment beyond Miller's statement. Sorry if I'm stumbling, I'm pretty tired today. And I've talked all day long. So goes on to say essentially everything Miller says about suspending habeas corpus, which would eliminate the ability of the courts to rule on immigration matters, is wrong. CNN senior legal analyst and former federal prosecutor, I don't know if it's Eli or Ellie, Honig said, Elie. The Constitution makes clear the suspension of habeas corpus is to be reserved for acts for. Let me start over. The Constitution makes clear that suspension of habeas corpus is to be reserved for actual rebellion or invasion, posing the most dire threats to public safety. And Congress has never passed a law authorizing deportations without any court involvement, as Miller suggests. That is true, actually. The Constitution only allows habeas corpus to be suspended when, in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. And that's a quote. Miller's comments pick up on ongoing efforts by the Trump administration to use the current state of illegal border crossings to claim that the U.S. is under invasion, which the administration says allows the government to eschew due process protections afforded to migrants. The administration is making a similar argument in defending Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, which would allow the government to quickly deport migrants without adherence to such due process procedures. Multiple judges, including a Trump appointee, have rejected the invocation, saying in rulings that the administration hadn't shown the United States is under invasion by a hostile foreign power, as laid out under the 18th century statute. Suspending the writ of habeas corpus would take Trump's efforts even farther, allowing the government to detain migrants without giving them the opportunity to challenge that detention, essentially letting the administration detain people without providing justification. The writ of habeas corpus has been suspended a number of times, but only in times of actual war or actual invasion, narrowly defined, Ilya Somin, a professor of law at George Mason University, told CNN in January. While the Constitution does not explicitly require Congress's approval for such a suspension, it's long been understood that the legislature would likely need to play that role, as the late conservative Justice Anton Scalia has noted in a dissent. Soman said some states have also tried to claim, starting in the 1990s, that illegal immigration amounted to an invasion that would allow them to engage in war or to disregard federal laws that restrict immigration enforcement. Every time courts have ruled on this, they have ruled against the states, Soman said. Trump administration officials have made it clear that they believe the judicial branch is hindering their ability to enforce immigration laws. President Donald Trump has personally attacked judges in public statements, and Miller has likened court rulings against the administration to a judicial coup. In a sign of the mounting pressure, Chief Justice John Roberts stressed the importance of judicial independence during public remarks Wednesday. The judiciary is a co equal branch of government, separate from the others, with the authority to interpret the Constitution as law and strike down, obviously, acts of Congress or acts of the President, Roberts said at an event in his native Buffalo, New York. The judiciary's role, Roberts added, is to decide cases, but in the course of that, check the excesses of Congress or the executive. And there we go. So, let's see here. Oh my goodness, look at this. Oh, there is nonsense right here. Shenanigans and nonsense. What's going on, Prepper 101? It's good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. So let's see. Colette, thank you for sharing information. It is important because, like Bug Dude said here, you saw the article shared in a Discord group, but not really much in the news. And I had not seen anything in the news either, not a thing. And I know how everyone feels about Fox versus CNN and none of that, but I looked on Fox a little while ago before I came on and I didn't see anything. And this seems like something you would want to share with people. I think it's certainly newsworthy. Absolutely. So as far as, habeas corpus, I know someone's going to ask or someone may be wondering, habeas corpus, does that mean martial law? No, it does not. Martial law and habeas corpus, suspension of habeas corpus, are two separate things. They can go hand in hand together, but it doesn't mean that they automatically do. So, in times of martial law, or if martial law were to be declared whenever, whatever in the US, um, that does suspend habeas corpus. So, habeas corpus goes along with it. However, you can suspend habeas corpus without having martial law declared. Dun, da, 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 the more you know. Imagine the rainbow right there. The more you know. Hey, Rip Curl, how are you doing? Hope all is well. Yeah, doing all right. Thanks. Thought I'd hop on and share this article. In fact, let me put a little linky link here. I will put it in the chat and I'll also put it in the description on the live on the video, so it'll be there. There we go. I'll just save that. Click, click. There we go. So that's a link to the article. It did change slightly. It was put out and then it was, I don't want to say revised, because everything I read initially when it was first posted is there. They just kind of sounds like they expanded on it a little bit more, add a little bit, like the quote from the who is this law person at George Mason University, the professor of law. They added that quote in there. So, and that quote's from January. So it sounds like maybe they were like, got the information up real quick and then went looking for a little bit more to kind of build the article out a little more because it was kind of short. And it was initially focusing only on statements that, what is his name here? Stephen Miller. Is that his name? Miller? Yes. So it was only focusing on the statements that he made today, saying that the administration is actively looking at, yeah, Stephen Miller is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus and that it'll depend on whether the courts do the right thing or not. So to me, that sounds like depends on whether the courts are going to do what we want or what we think needs to be done. And if they don't, then we're going to try to go ahead and let's suspend habeas corpus. So I personally don't think that's a good idea at all. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there who think, yeah, let's do it. We're going to get control over illegal immigration and people who are here illegally. They aren't citizens. They don't deserve the right to, they don't deserve the right to anything because they're not a legal citizen. Well, that's Supreme Court's already ruled on that. So this is going to be interesting. Um, so Guantanamo Bay, people who were held or detained, I guess, at Guantanamo Bay, right, George W's um, during George W's time in office, they were not citizens. They were kind of labeled enemy combatants, and they were held without trial. So, and the Bush administration argued habeas corpus didn't apply to foreign nationals that were held outside U.S. soil because Guantanamo is not part of the U.S. And I mean, there were some cases on that. Supreme Court said that the detainees had a right to challenge their detention. And in 2008, Supreme Court ruled, or the court ruled that habeas corpus applied or applies to Guantanamo detainees. So it kind of the thought is that those cases kind of reaffirm that even non-citizens have rights under US law when detained by US forces or by the US government. So I mean, saying that, there will likely be legal challenges. I'm like, "Yeah, think?" I'm sure there would be, if not by people being detained, then I think by citizens, we should question that. Um, I think that's a extremely slippery slope, taking away some rights and then, assuming they're gonna be put back in place or, who's to say habeas corpus I mean, I don't like it. I'm worked up. I can't get my thoughts out because 'cause I'm also very tired. I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's one that we don't wanna play with. It's already been proven, it's already been ruled on, but also I think that, we've been kind of picking and choosing what we're listening to at the Supreme Court anyway, so in some regards. So, I this is gonna be interesting. I'm curious to see how this is gonna be spun in the public, that it's already out there. They've kind of, put a little article out. It's in the news, it's in the media, but not being made. I mean, it was on the front page, or let's say the front page like it's a newspaper. It wasn't buried somewhere, on CNN, but it also wasn't like the big splash with the picture and, "Oh my gosh, we're about to lose our rights, everyone get mad." But it was there. It wasn't too far below the big picture for whatever else they were trying to get everyone upset about. So, I don't know if the general public, how they're gonna feel about it, If they're like, "Yeah, whatever." Yeah, exactly, bug dude. Once your rights are taken away, any right, getting them back is a real fight. And now you say, "Oh, it's been taken away before and we got it back." Okay, habeas corpus was suspended. Do you wanna know when? I looked it up. Civil War, 1861 to 1865, where thousands of people were detained without trial. Okay? Again, that was like how many what, like 100 plus years ago, 150, can't math real quick here. Let's see. Let's ask the calculator how many years ago that was. We're in 2025, and let's just say 1860, whoops, 160 years ago. That was the first time. Then let's see, Reconstruction era, 1871, President Ulysses S. Grant suspended it in South Carolina, not across the United States. It was suspended. Habeas corpus was suspended. Um, in South Carolina to suppress the KKK violence, I should say, that was going on at the time. And it allowed federal troops to arrest the Klan members so they could kind of get order back, because the local authorities either weren't doing it because they were just kind of failing to get a grip on it, or they were in collusion. They were going along with it. They were participating possibly. So yeah. Um, so that was in one state. World War II, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Technically not a full formal suspension, but you may have heard about this in your history books, where the US detained over 100,000 Japanese Americans. Many of them were US citizens, but they were detained without trial in quote unquote internment camps. You've probably read that in your history books if you remember. Call it internment camps. That was after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Um, There was at that time also martial law on the West Coast. In California, I think, California, Washington, believe Oregon also, following, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So, yeah, let's see here. After that, so nothing since World War II up until George W.'s administration and the whole Guantanamo Bay thing that I was telling you about. So, yeah, this'll be, so no, I don't know. This is just, here, let me take this off the screen. It's been sitting here. Sorry about that. Arc living. I feel like there's a lot more yes men and blissfully ignorant brothers. My age group, younger, that probably don't even know what this is. Yeah. That's the thing, the average person, I feel that, and this is where I feel like our education system comes into play. I feel like our educational system is probably, um, failing us in the school system. People don't really understand what it is, or it's just kind of glossed over. Maybe one day in class, or you spend a couple of days on it. Oh, we're learning about the Constitution today. If you even learn about habeas corpus, I mean, I did. I remember from high school, 160 years ago, when I was in high school, different time. I think it depends very much on. I don't think age has anything to do with. I think it very much depends on school system and what's taught. Some school districts are going to be better than others, more comprehensive. Some teachers are better than others, is what it really comes down to as well. But I overall, I feel like a lot of people are not familiar with our Constitution. They don't know what habeas corpus means, or there's going to be a whole slew of people saying, and get ready, you already know what it's going to be. Oh, it's just for the illegals. It's not. It doesn't apply to me. Yeah, it does. Suspension of habeas corpus means all of our rights are suspended. Yeah, it does. Why would it not apply to you? Why wouldn't it? So let's see here. Rip. Have they already been bypassing due process by all the use of things like executive orders by presidents, emergency order by governors, laws like red flag laws that put you guilty first? So, executive orders by the president, those are not laws. Executive orders, my understanding of that is that's really more for, I look at it as more like kind of like applies to just the government entities. It's more like a memo. Like, here's what you're going to do. It doesn't apply to citizens because it's not a law. So you can write all the ones you want, but if it's not a law, kind of like the cootie shot from a few years ago, we all remember that, right? Like everyone needs to get, yeah, whatever. It's not a law. It's an executive order. It means squat for average citizens. Within the government, it's a different matter. But yeah, let's see here. Then you have to prove your innocence. Well, but with suspension of habeas corpus, you that doesn't come into play. They just hold you, right? You don't get a chance to defend yourself. So, yeah. So that's kind of a problem if you're held without the opportunity to defend yourself, without the ability to, to just be held, you're just being held indefinitely. Being held at will, right? Let's see here. You have the old internment camps here in the Rogue Valley and White City where I live. Some of the buildings are still here. Yeah, I knew that some buildings were still standing there. Yeah. So, for anyone who doesn't know what habeas corpus means, habeas corpus, it's one of our rights and it protects you against unlawful detention. So it allows you to challenge your imprisonment in court. It provides you to be able to defend yourself. You get to appear in court, right? You're not just disappeared. And that sounds a little ominous, but, and I don't mean disappeared like delete. I mean like, we're going to pick you up and arrest you. Or they don't even have to arrest you. They can just detain you. Just call it detain. You don't have to be formally charged. That's the important part as well. For habeas corpus to be suspended, you can just kind of be picked up and detained, quote unquote. They don't have to charge you with anything. They can just hold you indefinitely. And that's that's important. It's important to know. So when I say you get disappeared, it's like we'll just put you in a holding cell down in the basement somewhere and we'll get you eventually, maybe someday, one day. Do you remember how upset a lot of people were and concerned about people from J6 who were just being held? Now I believe they had been charged, but they were still just kind of being held and not really given any court dates, or eventually they got a date a long, long time after I think they'd been charged at some point. So there was some hoopla about that, but not enough, in my opinion. Yeah, you were detained indefinitely, you know? It's the kind of stuff that happens in, I don't want to say third world countries, but if the shoe fits, lace that bitch up and take a couple laps. I'm just saying. So it's really important. And I'm so sad there's only 5 people here to hear me stumble and rant because I'm so freaking tired, but I felt this was really important to get out. I'm sure there'll be more people picking it up probably tomorrow or this weekend. I'm sure a lot of folks are out doing Mother's Day weekend stuff, and that's great. Should celebrate on your mom if you are so inclined. If you're not, then I hope you enjoy your weekend and have a good time. I don't know. Not everyone's close to their parents, but that's not what this stream is about. It's about this article, and they may update it some more. I don't know. Like I said, they updated it from when I first saw it. Oh, no, it looks like, is it again? Let's see. No, they just changed. There's someone's changing out the pictures on it, is all. So they had Stephen Miller's picture on it, and then they removed it and put Trump's picture. Now they've put it back to Stephen Miller. So it looks like they're tweaking it a little bit there. Um, but the article is still the same. So the text, everything I just read is still the same here. But yeah. Oh, they've added a video of Stephen Miller's giving his little speech and talking about looking at suspending, actively looking at suspending it. So there we go, folks. Something to talk about, something to discuss this Mother's Day. Hey, Mom, how do you feel about habeas corpus? And how would you feel if it was suspended? What do you think of that? Get into those deep, deep discussions on Mother's Day. Over Mother's Day breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, ice creams, flowers, all the good stuff. Hey, Mom, what do you think? I think that sounds like a great idea. That's what we should do this weekend. Hey, Mom, what do you think of suspending habeas corpus? If we lost habeas corpus as a right, do you think we'd ever get it back? And how long would it take to get it back? So there we go, folks. All right. Wow. Not even half an hour, 28 whole minutes. Okay. Well, let's see here. Any discussion? Any questions? You've shared it, spread the word. Thanks, Colette. Yeah, I think it's important to get out and for people to understand what it could potentially mean. What I think people are going to say is, the general, or how I suspect it'll be painted is, no, 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 it's not for the average citizen. It's only for people who are here illegally. Okay, but there's already been instances where people who are legal citizens, I mean, I hate to say profiling, but it happens. And when I say profiling, I mean like not in a good way. Profiling and pulling over people or approaching people or hassling people who are legal citizens. And I've heard of a couple instances, or maybe more than a couple, where people may have been approached by police or uh, federal agencies, to be detained. It turned out they were a US citizen. So, I mean, what if you pick up the wrong person? That's exactly it, Bug. Thank you. It's exactly it. People think it doesn't affect them until it does. You know, it's, I'm trying to remember. There was a saying, I knew it. Let's see. Oh, what is it? It doesn't affect me, says one person. Oh, what is it? It was said a lot during the Holocaust, or a lot of Holocaust survivors say it. Let's see. Oh no, the first they came. That's what it is. It's by Pastor Martin Niemöller, a German Lutheran minister, an outspoken critic of the Nazi regime. So excuse me, I completely misspoke. That's what I was thinking, was that time period. Often quoted as a warning against staying silent in the face of injustice. And it's called First They Came. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I'm not Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And so it's a reminder and it speaks to people remaining silent or indifferent in the face of persecution or enabling oppression to grow by not speaking out, not defending others. And then by the time that injustice reaches you personally, it's too late. So I'm going to end it here. I hope you all have ended on that somber note there, but it's really important, guys. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussion and coming up. And I'm sorry I'm kind of scattered. Like I said, super tired tonight. So I'm just tripping all over my own tongue. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Something really to think about. Keep your eyes out for hopefully more information to come in the news or more comments. Anything out there, I'll keep my eyes peeled as well and keep prepping. And I hope everyone's getting ready for potential tariffs to take. Well, not potential, the tariffs will take effect, but the potential effects, whatever those may be, and however they're going to affect us. Get ready for that as best you can. And I, I'll say I'm signing off for now. I don't know when I'll be back on, but we'll see. At this rate, who knows? Maybe it'll be another day or two. I have no idea. I wasn't planning to be here tonight. So I will see you guys next time. Take care and stay safe.